Hello, hello! Pax here, and we're back with episode 15 of Throwback Thursday. Happy Halloween! Today we have Graveborn Premium Deck Series. This is an all-foil deck that they did in, what was it, 2011? Yeah, 2011. This was the, I believe, second of the three that they did. So they did Fire and Lightning, which I think was the first. It was either Slivers or Fire and Lightning was the first. Then Graveborn, and then the whatever the last one was, I believe. It's been a while since I've looked, but all three were fully foiled decks that you could buy at both LGS's and big box retail. But they only did, I believe, 3 in the series. Then started from the vault shortly after, I believe. Let's get into this. Many of these were foil for the first time in this series. Graveborn itself is a Reanimator deck. So, yeah. Let's get into this. Have to remember... Yeah, there we go. Flips out. Yeah. Also came with an exclusive spin down. All right. First off, let's look at that spin down. Reminds me of, what is it, Othello? Reminds me of Shakespeare. My brain is not firing on all cylinders at the moment. But everything in here was foil, including the deck box. Also has that neat skull theme. Alright. This one was fairly popular because it had a special printing of Cabal Therapy, which was a playable card at the time. I mean, it technically still is, but it was a fairly meta card at the time, in both Legacy and Extended. Pretty sure it was still legal and Extended at the time. Yeah, I'm rambling. But this had a relatively competitive build of Reanimator, and if you cobbled together 4 of them, you actually had a very serviceable build of Reanimator. In fact, it's still a fairly good build of Reanimator, cobbling together 4 of these. So let's take a look. These are the face foils. So you have Croesus the Purger, 3 blue, black, red for a 6/6 legendary dragon. Flying, and whenever it deals combat damage to a player, you may pay 2 and a black. If you do, choose a color, then that player reveals his or her hand and discards all cards with that color. So, Persecution for 3, basically. Pretty good rate. Sphinx of the Steel Wind, which still sees play in the sideboards of Oath and Vintage. But 5 white, blue, black for a 6/6 artifact creature Sphinx. With flying, first strike, vigilance, lifelink, protection from red and green. Very nice. Buried Alive. Recently got a reprint, printing it into Modern with Modern Horizons 3, I believe. So 2 and a black sorcery, search your library for up to 3 creature cards and put them into your graveyard. Then shuffle. And Reanimate, which at the time got its first foil printing ever. This is the original art from Tempest. For a black, you get a sorcery. Put target creature card from a graveyard onto the battlefield under your control. You lose life equal to its converted mana cost. First time ever appearing as foil. Same goes for Animate Dead. This was a completely new art for it. Put 1 in a black. Enchantment Aura. Enchant creature card in a graveyard. When Animate Dead enters the battlefield, if it's on the battlefield, it loses enchant creature card in a graveyard and gains enchant creature card put into onto the battlefield with Animate Dead. Return enchanted creature card to the battlefield under your control and attach Animate Dead to it. When Animate Dead leaves the battlefield, that creature's controller sacrifices it. Enchanted creature gets -1/-0. Which is just a really wordy way of saying, put a creature from your graveyard into play with this enchanting it. If Animate Dead leaves the battlefield, sacrifice the creature enchanting it, or it enchants. Enchanted creature gets -1/-0. Hidden Horror. 1 black for 4/4 creature horror. When it enters the battlefield, sacrifice it unless you discard a creature card. It's an extra little way to, to pitch things into the graveyard. Also with new art. Then Entomb. For a black, you get an instant. Keep in mind, Entomb was very recently unbanned when this came into print. And I believe it was Legacy. But for a black, you get an instant. Search your library for a card and put it into your graveyard. Then shuffle your library. Still one of the most powerful reanimation enablers in the game. Good old Cabal Therapy. For black, you get a sorcery. Name a non-land card. Target player reveals his or her hand and discards all cards with that name. Flashback, sacrifice a creature. Fantastic discard spell and graveyard enabler. Still used widely in multiple formats. Also, first time appearing with this art, which is pretty cool. Avatar of Woe. 6 black for a 6/5 creature avatar. If there are 10 or more creature cards in total in all graveyards, Avatar of Woe costs 6 less to cast. Fear. Well, that's a mechanic that some new players will have never heard of at this point. But this creature can't be blocked except by artifact creatures and or black creatures. It has tap, destroy target creature. It can't be regenerated. And another great enabler, Zombie Infestation. 1 in a black, enchantment, discard 2 cards, put a 2/2 black zombie creature token onto the battlefield. So those are the base cards. Let's take a look at what's in the rest of the deck. And again, the entire deck is foil. Nice little packet with the insert. Man, brain is having a hard time today. With Putrid Imp, sometimes called Pimp. For a black, you get a 1/1 zombie imp with the ability to discard a card. It gains flying until end of turn and threshold. As long as you have 7 or more cards in your graveyard, it gets +1/+1 and can't block. Yeah, there we go. We have 1, 2 of those. Another Hidden Horror. Faceless Butcher. 2 black for a 2/3 Nightmare Horror. And this is the old templating, so if you remove it in response to its first ability, they have no way of getting the creature back. But when Faceless Butcher enters the battlefield, exile target creature other than Faceless Butcher. When Faceless Butcher leaves the battlefield, return the exiled card to the battlefield under its owner's control. So if in response to the first ability, you are able to remove it from play, the second ability happens first, and yeah, it never comes back. Twisted Abomination, 5 and a black for a 5/3 zombie mutant. For a black, you can regenerate it, and it swamp cycles for 2. So you can pay 2, discard it, search your library for a swamp, and then put it in your hand. Reveal it and put it into your hand. Terastodon. Still a fantastic target. But 6 green for a 9/9 elephant. When it enters the battlefield, you may destroy up to 3 target non-creature permanents. For each permanent put into a graveyard this way, its controller puts a 3/3 green elephant creature token onto the battlefield. So a really common trick you would do with this is you would blow up like 2 of your opponent's lands and 1 of your own lands or an artifact or something. Or 3 of your own things to put 18 power into play. Like, there are tons of things you can do with Terastodon. Still a fantastic reanimate target. Verdant Force. 5 green, a classic reanimate target. For a 7/7 elemental, at the beginning of each upkeep, put a 1/1 green sapling creature token onto the battlefield. Which also works really well with the Cabal therapies. Inkwell Leviathan, another absolute classic. And a classic Oath target. But 7 blue for a 7/11 artifact creature Leviathan with Island Walk, Trample, and Shroud. Extremely sticky threat that's hard to deal with. Blazing Archon. This one's fallen off a bit, but it still does see play in a few different style of decks. Mostly Reanimator and Oath. Granted, that's going to be the case with most of the large creatures in here. But 6 white, which, funny thing about this, there's no way to actually cast this creature. You get a 5/6 Archon with flying, and creatures can't attack you. Yeah. Duress. We all know Duress. For a black, you get a sorcery. Target opponent reveals his or her hand. You choose a non-creature, non-land card from it. That player discards that card. You get 1, 2, 3 copies. Get another Animate Dead. And another Animate Dead. We get an Exhume. 1 and a black. Sorcery. Each player puts a creature card from his or her graveyard onto the battlefield. Just, if you're the only player with a creature in your graveyard, you're the only one that gets one back. But also, it's pretty likely you're going to have better stuff in your graveyard to bring back than they will. And we have 1, 2, 3 copies of Exhume. Sickening Dreams. Another great way to enable your graveyard shenanigans. 1 and a black sorcery as an additional cost. So even if this gets countered, you get to do this. To cast Sickening Dreams, discard X cards. Sickening Dreams deals X damage to each creature and each player. Also just a good board wipe. 1, 2 Sickening Dreams. We have Buried Alive again, so that's our second Buried Alive. And Last Rites. 2 and a black, sorcery, discard any number of cards. Target player reveals his or her hand, then you choose a non-land card from it for each card discarded this way. That player discards those cards. Both a hand disruption piece and a great discard enabler. We have 1, 2 of those. Diabolic Servitude. 3 and a black, enchantment. When it enters the battlefield, return target creature card from your graveyard to the battlefield. When the creature is put onto the battlefield with Diabolic Servitude dies, exile it and return Diabolic Servitude to its owner's hand. So this ends up being a reusable piece. When Diabolic Servitude leaves the battlefield, exile the creature card put onto the battlefield with Diabolic Servitude. 1, 2 of those. Good old Dread Return. Absolute all-star in many formats. It's one of the Reanimate pieces that you can mill and still use. But 2 black sorcery, return target creature card from your graveyard to the battlefield. Flashback, sacrifice 3 creatures. Just solid all around. And we have 1, 2 of those. And now we've gotten to the lands. We have Crystal Vein, which at the time was the only way to get this as a foil. It's a land that taps for a colorless, and then you can tap and sacrifice it to add 2 colorless to your mana pool. 1 of those. Ebon Stronghold. I believe this is still the only way to get this as a foil, but I could be wrong. Enters the battlefield tapped, taps for a black, and then you can tap and sacrifice it to add black to your mana pool. So you could potentially have 4 mana on turn 2 with this. With those 2 together. Polluted Mire. Enters the battlefield tapped, taps for a black, cycles for 2. Absolute beauty. And I believe for a while this was the only way to get Polluted Mire as a foil. Then we have some lovely foil swamps. We have 1, 2, love that art, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21 foil swamps. Very nice. Right. And let's look at the insert. Normally we do first, but it's fine. So there's 2 inserts. Not sure what this is. Pull back for this. I think this is an advertisement for Duel of Planeswalkers. Oh no, it's a how to play short version. Okay. Yeah, so it's on a tiny card with this whole thing with a glossary. And ads for the core set 2012 intro set and boosters. Introduction to the Gatewatch. And yeah, some layout tips. That's neat. I forgot that was included in this. Yeah, this was printed around the same time as Core Set 2012. The fold out for the deck itself. Which includes the deck list, ideas on playing the deck, some tips and tricks, ad for Friday Night Magic, let's see, an ad for magicthegathering.com, and then some history on Reanimator decks. Very nice. All right. Well, thank you for joining me on this adventure, and happy Halloween! So, happy anniversary to my spouse. I love you dearly, and you are the light of my world. And I'm looking forward to the next 11 and beyond that. All right. Thanks, everyone. As always, don't forget to like, share, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff for the algorithm. And until next time, stay awesome. We'll see you in the next one. Thanks. Bye.